How's it going? Welcome to another episode of Fat Guy with a Ponytail. It has been a while since we've done one of these, and I thought that I would catch up. I've been playing around on YouTube, doing a lot of other things as my other Scabby Pete persona for music and the like, working on some developer stuff, and thought it was high time that I did a check-in with respect to like this post-gastric bypass existence. And how that's going because we're out. I think we're coming up close on September 3rd, so it's like the other side of summer, which will make this about, I'd say, 2 years. Yep, that'd be 2 year surge anniversary, and things haven't changed as much. And I guess that's the point why I wanted to do this video, was because once you get past your first year, and I think I might have said this in the Surgiversary video, but I've at least said it a couple times in my blog and other things that I've had to say, that this is where the real work begins. This is where um, all the cool little victories that you get along the way essentially evaporate with respect to numbers. It doesn't mean that things stagnate necessarily, but I guess the important piece is, well, let me rephrase this. Um, we'll do our current stats check. So our current stats check is, yeah, we're 180. I think last time I checked in, it was like 185. So in past like 9 months, um, we've sort of floated back and forth. And that's basically the advice that I've gotten from a couple different books that have said basically, you need to figure out where your range is. Obsessing on a single number is not going to help you out. But a weight range is going to actually help more than anything else. So for me, that is in the high 170s to 185. After 185, I start to get wicked nervous, and I realize that that's not with respect to my age of 53 and my current situation with respect to like height, 5'10", that's not horrible. I think if you look at the BMI charts, it's still considered overweight. And I don't think that I'm ever going to make what the BMI charts would have you be as like healthy weight. And there's some speculation about like BMI and whether that's actually a real good metric to work with. It's the metric we have. It's the metric that we work with. It's a decent, first pass. Yeah, you could lose your mind if you obsess about it. But pant size is about the same. I've squeezed into a 32 waist. 34 is probably more comfortable. 32, because of the skin, because you get that loose skin inevitably, that can not look fabulous when I wear shirts that I tuck in, which I do a whole lot more. So we'll call it 34, 32 on a good day if it's like, winter clothes or whatever. And yeah, and we still have the same mental battle that, I look in the mirror and I still see a fat person. Folks say they see ab muscles even, and I go, I don't see it. I see skin. On a good day, I might see some things, but I'm exercising still, and I'm still rowing on a pretty regular basis. Lately, I've started doing some running, which I'm not sure why that is, but I can do these things, and I can walk, and I do regularly, like walking, say the same amount of time. It's usually, 5 clicks, and that's a decent exercise. And I guess that brings me back to the whole point that I was trying to make, is that in this span of 10 months and in the span that follows after all that dramatic weight loss and all the joy, I mean, you get all of that fun. We've sat through it, like a number of these episodes, where you can watch me shrink from episode to episode. I can watch me shrink, and I'm suddenly buying brand new clothes, and it's fantastic. Um, and yes, I'm spending money, but it's a great way to spend money. There's visible, palpable joy that comes with all of that, and it's fantastic. then it stops. And then you're left looking at sort of like, well, what next? Because it's not about numbers. And I guess that's the really hard part for me in this next phase that I've been trying to get through, which is focusing on what they call the non-scale victories, the NSVs. And those can be small, but I guess the big takeaway for me that I've kind of had to realize is you really need to hold on to those. Every single one of those that you get are crucial, or at least they have been for me. And you have to be cognizant, aware, and in the moment in managing and knowing what those are when you see them. And they can be minor, or at least seemingly minor, in that some of these things will be as simple as, hey, I'm not eating Doritos, and that's not a bad thing. And I'm in the same camp of like, oh, pat yourself on the back. It's like the equivalent of a participation award, and that's not a big win for me. But if you think about it, against the backdrop of all the things that we've done, that's happened over the past 2 years, that's a really big deal. When I think about what I would do in the past, sitting down in front of a television set, I still do that. Um, and despite the fact that there are rules and regimens and that we've got a binder at my program that we constantly reflect back to, that reminds us of all the bad behaviors that we're not supposed to do. And like, we're supposed to be setting ourselves up for when we eat, we eat. And when we recreate or do what it is that we're doing, watching television, reading a book, there's not the grazing, snacking thing that gets us into trouble. I'll save all that discussion for the nutritionist. I live in the real world where that kind of thing can happen, but doesn't mean that it should. But if you're going to give yourself those kind of problems, and again, back to the NSV and reframing, hey, what am I eating? I'm eating protein chips. That's kind of cool compared to all the carbs and all the horrible things that are going into my face prior to the surgery. And I won't tell anybody this, but I'm eating vegetables. I mean, like on purpose. Like celery with Greek yogurt, 0% fat, like packed with protein, and making this choice consciously because I've looked over and I could do low-fat sour cream, maybe. Um, I could probably dip something else, but I am choosing, for some reasons in flavor, other reasons for health, other reasons for filler because I need fiber, and I know that I need these things, but I'm making the choice to snack on those things with the yogurt. I mean, done up in the onion dip fashion, but um, yeah, it's again we go back to an NSV. It's like wow, consider that against where you were snacking before. Um, when was the last time I had pizza? I will admit that now, and we're in the other side of things, closer on that 2 year. Um, have I had a slice of pizza? No. Have I scraped the edges of it? Have I had a bite or two of pizza? Yes. And it was delicious. And it's New York pizza, so there's nothing you can do when there's like a true New York pizza in front of you. It's it's hard not to take a bite of that at least to remember and taste it. At the same time, my bread intake is almost nil, and I don't miss it because it feels weird. I truly can't eat potatoes at all. Fries, baked potatoes, mashed potatoes, all those things. Can't do it. It just tastes weird. So on the plus side, again, more of these things like, so what am I taking into my body? And it's mostly protein, lots of fruit, which, again, my program is 3 cups of fruit per day, sort of where they're trying to fence you in. But that's also couched in another a piece of advice from the nutritionist who basically says, but fruit never got you fat. And that's something to bear in mind as well. Again, we're focusing back on those non-scale victories, those things that are like, there's no measurable piece other than, yeah, but I had fruit. I didn't have a fistful of M&Ms like I used to in the past. I had vegetables instead of Doritos. I had the cheese and tomato off of the pizza, but not the bread. And I only had a single slice's worth of that. and I made sure that I packed it full of vegetables. Um, it's when you push all of that against the backdrop, man, that's a significant change. And then I'm exercising on purpose regularly, daily. And there's a couple reasons for that. One of them is because, I need it and it's good for me, and we got to keep the metabolism going, and we want to stay healthy, and I don't want to get back to the person that, we started this video at. But also, and I think I might have mentioned this in other videos prior to, that um, I suffer from depression quite a bit. And I'm sure that there's a lot of folks out there who also, I mean, it's one of those things that um, we get we get this way because we have habits uh, that get us into trouble because of a variety of things. And depression certainly seems to be one that at least folks that I've talked to in my group, um, yeah, yeah, it's real. And in this world, it seems to be predominant. And then we have COVID on top of it all, which has just made a nightmare for all of us suffering from depression. So I need the exercise. I have two choices. I can go get counseling, which I've had the counseling. I've had um, medication, Zoloft, Paxil, Wellbutrin. I'm not on any of those and haven't been for quite some time, which is not to say that that's not for everyone. For me, I needed it to get through some rough periods. I don't need it as much if I get the exercise. So for me, the choice that I'm making is I exercise as my medication, and I make sure that I go ahead and do it because it's super important for my mental health. Because once my depression sets in and the snakes in my head start talking and doing crazy stuff like that, man, I'm lost. So all of that in a big long spewage of been a long time since we chatted. Uh, it's crucial, I think, once you're past the magic of that honeymoon period that they talk about, that you pay attention to those non-scale victories, acknowledge them as they happen, be in that moment, and know that you're making some better choices, hopefully, along the way. And again, nutritionist in our group has also added another saying that says "slip, don't slide." So yeah, have I had some carbs? I will say as recent as 2 weeks ago, pretzels. I even had a couple Doritos. I did. It happened. And it was a weekend, and it was after a really long, like, there's a whole separate discussion on development and doing stuff like that. But yeah, that we slipped. We did the thing. We had a good time, and then we get back on target so we don't slide. And I think that's good advice, and I've been trying to follow it, and I think it's been pretty good. So here's to more successes. Here's to, hey, staying on target with those NSVs. More gigs coming up this summer, so that's something to look forward to. Hopefully those numbers continue to trend downward, and we'll see the world opening up, and that'll help with depression. Sun's back out, cicadas are going away, and we'll get some more exercise and being outside a whole lot more. So we'll see when the next episode is. I'll try to make it a little bit more frequent, and try to improve the quality of these videos as we go forward. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.